Welcome to this video where we will talk about the movie G.I. Joe The Rise of the Cobra. We will begin by exploring the movie's storyline, summarizing its plot, and discuss the cast and characters. Then we will take a closer look at the film production details and box office performance. Finally, we will share review and audience reaction to give you a well-rounded perspective. Let's get started. G.I. Joe The Rise of the Cobra. Director Stephen Sommers. Writers The Stuart Betia. Rating PG-30. Runtime 170 minutes. Release date 7 August 2009. G.I. Joe The Rise of the Cobra is a live-action film directed by Stephen Sommers and the release on 7 August 2009. The story involves Cornard Duca Horace and the Baroness the Ripcord regimes being rescued for a special force team while in the process of trying to protect a military convoy. Set in not-too-distant future, the film features a mixture of the realistic military action and sci-fi-style weapons such as concussion pistols and the nominates. The movie is the best of the G.I. Joe's live-action film. They continued. In the near future, weapons next James McCullen and created the nanotechnology capable of destroying and the entry city. He sails from the nominate further to the NATO and the USA Army's take with the delivering with the warhead. Duke and the Ripcord are rivaling the warhead when they are abused by the Baroness and the survival Cobra Vipers along with their razors the gunship. In the ensuing firefights, many of the Duke and the Ripcord the teammates are skills are the survivally wounded and both of their the A-64 Apache gunship are the destroyed along with all of their the ground vehicles, included their the MRAPS arm with the SEMS and the 15s cyber anti-craft guns unable to match the plus weapons used by the Baroness. Vipers and the Razor before the Duck and the Ripcord meet a similar fate. They are rescued by the Scarlet Skin Irons and the heavy duty that the gave warhead to Gentles the Awake. Head of the G.I. Joe team at their headquarters, the Pite in the Egypt. Quick takes the command of the warhead and excuse Duke and the Ripcord, but when Duck relieves that he knows that the Bronze Havoc always them to train to join G.I. Joe's McCullen and his the mysterious the associate, the doctor or revealed to be used the same nanotechnology to be and the army of the soldier. McCullen play on the using the words to the casual a panic, causing the world to turn to the President of the United States for the guidance using a tracking device. McCullen locates the GOA, the base, and the Sunstorm's shadow, the Baroness and the Zertan with the enhanced Neo Vipers to retrieve the warheads. After a fight, some the Shadow and the Bronze retire the warhead and take them to the Bronner Discover. Using the tracking device, McCullen locates the G.I. Joe base and the Sandstorm, the Shadow, the Baroness and the Zertan with the enhanced the Neo Vipers to retrieve the warhead. After a fight, Storm, Shadow and the Baroness retrieve the warheads and take them to the Bronner Discover. The Baroness has been from his to weaponized, after which the Bronner Discover is murdered by the Storm Shadow under the order from the McCullen. If he touches the Baroness again, then they plan to attack the Eiffel Tower. G.I. Joe track down to the Baroness and the Storm Shadow and they purchase them through the Street of Fear but are the unnecessary in the stopping. G.I. Joe track down to the Baroness and Storm Shadow and they purchase them through the Street of the Fear but are the unnecessarily stopping them for launching the missiles. The nominates eat through part of the tower prop. The Duck hits the skull, which but in doing so, he is captured and tagged to the mystical space under the Arctic circles. Though the Duck is successful in the providing whispered destruction across peers, the damage is sufficient is the collapse. Is the Eiffel Tower destroying it the ultimately breaks, then the manage to extra memory in age with form of the new Vipers indicating the locations of the action voice and the remaining target. Following the Jews are the arrest by the French authorities believe them to be the ones who damaged the Eiffel Tower. Thanks to some the duplicitous warning, the Jews are released from their arrest by the French. The release, however, comes with the strict order that one of them are ever to run to France. Further, memory Hovig tells them that they have each been recalled by their respective heads of the state, while the Jews scramble to try to find a way around this. Turk is the imposed at the MARS base, where the doctor intends to turn him into a new Vipers. Hovig comments that the Jews have been the order recalled, but have been given no the specific timetables, giving them implied the permission to proceed with a rescue mission to the architect circles. Clone loaders 3 mission with the nominated warheads. Using a tracking device, Clone locates the G.I. Joe base and sends Storm's Shadow, the Baroness and the Zertan with the enhanced Neo Vipers to retrieve the warheads. After a fight, Storm Shadow and the Baroness retire the warhead and take them to the de Cobra. The Baroness has been from him to the weaponized, after which the Baroness de Cobra is the mustered by the Storm Shadow under order from the Clone. If he touches the Baroness again, they then the plan to attack the Eiffel Tower. G.I. Joe the track down to the Baroness and the Storm Shadow and they pursue them through the street of Pierce, but are unsuccessful in the stopping them from the laughing the missiles. They nominate it through the part of the tower before the duck hits the skill switch, but in doing so he is the capture and take to the Clone base under the Arctic circles. All thought Dirk is the successful in the preventing the Whisper destruction across Pierce. The damage is the sufficient to the complex the Eiffel Tower, destroying it the earthly breaker. Then they manage to extra memory enhance from one of the Neo Viper, indicating the locating of the Arctic base and the remaining targets. Following this, the Jews are arrested by the French. The authorities believe them to be the ones who damaged the Eiffel Tower thanks to some duplicated warning. Thanks to some duplicated warning, the Jews are released from their arrest by the French. The release, however, comes with the strict order that none of them are ever to return to French. Furthermore, Hovig tells them that they have each been recalled by their respective heads of state, while the Jews scramble to try to find a way around this. Duck is the imprisoned at the MARS base, where the doctor intends to turn him into a new Viper. Hovig comments that the Jews have been ordered the recall but have been giving no specific timetables, giving them implied the permission to proceed with a rescue mission to the Arctic circles. Clone loads 3 missiles and the nominate warheads. The doctor reveals he is the Rex Review, the Baroness brother that the Duck left for the dead on E. The doctor reveals that he is the Rex Review, the Baroness brother that the Duck left to dead on a mission 4 years ago. He was trapped in a bunker with the doctor the Minters band and learned about the He was trapped in a bunker with the doctor the Mindbenders and they learned about the nanotechnology. He was discovered in a blast with the Duke and the Baroness believe kill him. The Baroness tries to free the Duke but the doctor reveals he has implanted her with the nominates. Clone tries to kill Duke but he is unsuccessful and his face is burned as he flows with the doctor to end the escape vessels. Duke and the Baroness pursues him while Secret Heavy Duty and the Snake Eyes attempt to stop the missiles and shut down the Arctic base. Snake Eyes destroys the first missile using his ice sabers. Ripcord takes off in a prototype jet and they destroyed the second missiles before it researched the Moscow. The third missile is the target towards the White House in the United States. Upon learning of this, the president's secret the survive team they escort him to the underground bunker to either wait for their criticized to be revealed or the missiles to hit the bunker. However, turned out to have been built by the MARS Industries and one of the president's secret service team is now a new Vipers. The new Viper kills are the remaining founding member of the president team and his staff. Then they admit our shadow figures into the firm. The president recognized the man, and is the shock Ripcord finally managed to intercept and destroy the third weapon, but is doing so. He has to take it to the atmosphere. He ejects and they land outside the White House where he arrested. But in doing so, he has to take it to the atmosphere. He rejects and lands outside while who are initially unaware of his the heroic action. The doctor heals the MC clone burned face, but in doing so he insists it is the silver and he declares MC clone to now be destroyed. Then he declares himself to be the Cobra the commands. They are soon captured by the CGI Joe. Doug and the Brownings are focused apart, sharing a last kiss at the Brownings is sent away in the hopes that the nominate which have been injected into her can be the Ripcord. Ripcord. In doing so, enhance it is silver and the declares MC clone to now be Desto. He then declares himself to be the Cobra commanders. Then they soon be captured by the G.I. Joe. Doug and the Brownings are the focused part, sharing at last a kiss as the Baroness is sent away in the hopes that the nominate which have been injected into her can be the Ripcord. The Joes then walk together to a helicopter readying themselves from a new mission, the Operation Simangos. As they step inside, the Journal Havoc wishes them the luck. Back at the White House, the president glad handle a group of the reporters before the stepping inside the Oval Office. Inside, it becomes clear that he is not actually the president at all, but the rather Zertans and the shadow figures from the before, whistling to himself, for he is a joy. Good fellow, he prepared half the word on the Cobra next move. The president glad handled a group of the reporters before the stepping inside the Oval Office. Inside, it becomes clear then he is not actually the president at all, but rather than Zertans and the shadow figures from the before, whistling to himself from his joy and good fellow, he prepares for the word on the Cobra next move. Technical G.I. Joes does to exist, but if it did not to be the composed of the top men and the women from the top military until in the world, the alpha dogs when all else fails with the dance. When all else fails, we don't. Journal Havoc. The rehead is the really starting to piss me off. Brownies asking where the snake eyes is from the deck. What about you, Sacred? He does not speak. Ripcord vibe. Breakers. He does not sleep. Are they jaws? Hell, no, they are jogs. I thought your special ops type were supposed to be the broad we are, but we are the sensitive too. G.I. Joe reference. While the Wozy Ripcord comments on the heavy dudes, lifelike hair and the Kung Fu grips, both action features on the original's 12 G.I. Joe doll. The scar under Duck Ride's eye is an the homage to the famous scars on the original 12 G.I. Joe figures introduced in the 1964. It was the edit as a copyright mark to present the unlawful the pre-productions. A real American hero. The Eiffel Tower getting destroyed is a directed reference to the first episode of the cartoons, where the Cobra commander and the destroyer made the Eiffel Tower disappear. The idea for the nominate comes from the earlier issue of the G.I. Joe comic. The nominate injection the doctor gives the new Vipers leave behind a scar in the shape of the classic Cobra logo. They are survival REH. The reference is the Pied Recom, a pair of the sky balls hanging on a pillar, a red sport the jersey on the wheel. Breaker love for the bubbles gun come directly from the Cums and the Phil Cars. The Brownies describe Doug and his team as the real American heroes. When the Brownies suggest that the snake Eyes has given up his the pursuit storm. Break your love from the bubble gums come directly from the Cums and the file cards. Then the Brownies describe Doug and his team as the real American heroes. When the Brownies suggest that the snake eyes When the brownie suggests that the Snake Eyes has given up his the pursuit, Storm Shadow warns her that he never gives up, a line from the 90s-80s cartoon dance song, "He never gives up, he always there fighting for the freedoms over land and the air." As Dirk and the Ripcord avoid the missiles, Love from the steals the crush APV, then the camera moves to be in front of them and the scenes the briefly freeze, framing the two men with and exploding behind them, just as in the cart out of the 80s figure heavy duty shouts the team battle cry Hyo. Journal Havoc says the iconic "The capture process going is the half the battle at the end. The G.I. Joe them is on at the aircraft the carrier that appears to be the USS flag bearing the number 99. The toy lines and the comic book further the same ship. Many old G.I. Joe stickers are visible during the end credit. The USA Flying Star logo is visible during the end crafted. According to Brain the Gardeners, the writers took their the inspiration mostly from Larry. According to Brains the Golden, the Warriors took their the inspiration mostly from the Larry Hamill's G.I. the comics and not to the animated series. Long D.I. the Boncher admit he feels the Cobra organization and the described in the cartoon was the probably the stupid evil organization out there. Sigma 6. The Digital 6 the accelerator suit are a reference to the Sigma 6 suit. The Sigma 6 logo is visible during the end credit. Real world reference. The indicator of the destroy the submarine was based on the Handel speech, the jet stream plane. The creative 19s are the color green to suggest more the decomposing whatever it the grown up when giving a painkiller on the G.I. Joe transport after the Ripcord and the Duke until is the abused. Ripcord joked that the Duke was the government issue, which is what the GI stand for. Destroy is the head of the MARS, which they stand for Military Armaments Research Syndicate. It is also a reference to the Maris. It is also a reference to the Maris, to the Roman god of war. Countries the error when the Scarlet uses the Camden suit. He hands are the brave. However, when she activities is the cockling feature, her hands despair as well. When Snake Eyes has a flashback to the first time he and the Storm Shadow met and the fought in the dojo. Storm Shadow hits it the burner on the stove and the burner turns on as the Snake Eyes run onto them. However, in the next shoot, all of them the burns are off. Development. The development of a live-action feature film goes back to the height of the G.I. Joe popularity back in the 1980s. From the many reasons the project went into that is the called development hell, a term referring to the difficulties of the getting a planned feature film into the actual production. Other possible reasons may be the Toyland popularity started to be ebb on its the entry into the 1990s and the failure of other toy-based feature film, notable the Monster of the Universe. In 2003, Paramount Pictures obtained the entertaining rights from the some of the Hasbro preparation producer then the Murphy original The Negative for the right to develop a live-action G.I. Joe features film following the success of the toy The Real launch and the direct. In 2003, Paramount Pictures obtained the entertaining rights of some of the Hair Boys the Pop Reads. Producer then the Murphy originally the negotiated from the rights to develop a live-action G.I. Joe feature film following the success of the Joy launch and the direct-to-video animated movie. However, following the United States war in the Iraq, the live-action project start and the option was given to develop Transformer instead. In an ironic twist, the success of 2007 Transformer features film the help Paramount rejoin instant in the development CGI Joe once more. The film was settled from the 2009 release date with the Stephen Sommers as the director and the starred British and the scriptwriter the Lenores Noted, who survived as the producer from the transfer produced this the film Hasbro executed Brain and the starred battle as the scriptwriter the Linoso D. The Ben Venture would serve as the producer from the Transformer produced this film. Hasbro executive Brent the Gardner was also the on board as the executive producer. D.I. Bonaventure in an interview said that in the original cartoon movie was like the 1989 The Batman film, this film was more like Again the Batman Beings. To help achieve this, the climb to the Bonaventure signs on the film G.I. Joe the comics writer Larry Hama as a creative the constant internal digital and said the film was the visuals and the international task from the based in the Brussels. Report said the team would be called GIGOE Global Integrate Jointly Operation in IT and the composed of the members from the difficult countries. The primary villains were to be the Destroyer and the Baroness which Cobra. GIGOE Global Integrate Jointly Operating in IT and the composed of members from the difficult country. The primary villains were to be the Destroyer and the Baroness with the Cobra commanders in control behind the scenes. Rampant Special Force Hasbro to clarify the studio assumes fan that the film would still feature the family G.I. Joe with the Cobra concept. The Geo headquarters will be called the Piety as it was in the comic. They will be the characters from the USA and locations around the world, but G.I. Joe will not be and the Acrons and that the Duck would be the lead characters. The story stuff would be based on them and feel of the comic series published by the Marvel, addressing the removed toned down Patrick Phil Brain the Gordon retried that his would not be anti-issue. In June of 2009, there were the rumors that due to the film getting reward love score from the test scaling, the director and the editor had been filled and a new editor had been through in an attempt to save the film. However, the rumors turned out to not to be true. In the last quarter of 2007, Sienna Miller was the first actor to be confirmed for a role in the movie. Not long after, Ray Park was announced from the role of the Snake Eyes. Before the year was over, the Hollywood Reporter released to process their more actors, the Rickles Nichols, Anvils, anyone, and the Six as the Scott Heavy Duty and the Breaker, respectively. Beyond Hon Lee was said to be in the running from the role of the Storm Shadow. It was finally confirmed on the air Ring Radio. Actor seemed the word things was apparently at one point the choice from the Duck, a role that eventually went to the changing trends. Though the modern phase was instead the final choice, a Ripcord and the announce reported by the Variety upset and confused fans as the in the last quarter of 2007, Sienna Miller was the first actor to be confirmed for a role in the movie. Not long after, the Ray Park was announced for the role of the Snake Eyes. Before the year was over, the Hollywood Reporters released to press the more actors Rickles the Nichols, Advili, Agbich, and the Said. Scarlet's Heavy Duty and the Breaker, respectively. Bunny Hon Lee was said to be in the running from the role of the Storm Shadow. It was finally confirmed on the air Ring Radio. Actor seemed the word thing was apparently at one point the choice for the Duck, a role that eventually went to the changing terms. Though the Marlon Wayans as instead the final choice as the Ripcord and the announce reported by the Variety upset and the confused fan as the actor Sam the word things was apparently at one point the choice from the Ducks, a role that eventually went to the changing triumphs. Though the Marlon Wayans as instead the final choice as the Ripcord and the announce reported by the Variety upset and the confused fans as the Ripcord character was described as the leader of the Joy teams. By end of the journey 2008, Variety reported the Dynamic Guide was cast at the Havoc and a quick follow-up from the IPSP reveal around falls as the certain David Murphy as the reported to have the signs on the Destroy. However, the role eventually went to the Christopher's the Eccleston. The rumor was the Murphy work visa had not been approved from the February 13 shooting start date. The one role that received the most spectacle was the Cobra of the Commander. The one role that received the spectacle was the Cobra Commander Josh Gordon Levitt name was attached to the project very early on. The officially G.I. Joe Club was the among the number of the website to the confirm Gordon's Levitt role as the Cobra commander, but they quickly removed the news soon thereafter, leaving many to think it was the announced informations. However, the presentation at the International Toy Fair 2008 in New York confirmed Gordon's Levitt as the having signs on to play the Cobra leader. The lineup of the cast is as follows. Casting. In the last quarter of 2007, Sienna Miller was the first actor to be confirmed for a role in the movies. Not long after, the Ray Park was announced for the role of the Snake Eyes. Before the year was over, the Hollywood Reporters released to process their more actors, Rachel Nichols and Will the NQ, the set thumbnails, Discard Heavy Dude and the Burger respectively. Bang Hyun Lee was said to be in the running for the role of the Storm Shadow. It was finally confirmed on the airing radio. Actor Sam Washington was the apparently at one point the choice from the Turks, a role that they eventually were not the changing terms, though the Marine race was instead the final choice as the Ripcord and the Iran's report by. Actor Sam Washington was apparently at one point the choice from the Turk, a role that eventually went to the changing terms, though the Marlon Wayans was instead the final choice as the Ripcord and the Iran's reported by the Variety upset and the confused fans as the Ripcord character was described as the leader of the Joy teams. By end of the journey 2008, Variety the reported Diney's Guide was cast as the Havoc, and a quick follow-up from the ISP the reveal Arnold the Whistles and the Zertans. David Tamari was reported to have the signs on as the Desto. However, the role eventually went to the Christopher's the Eccleston. The rumor was that the Murphy work visa had not been approved from the 13 February shooting start date. The one role that they received the most spectacle was that the Cobra commander Josephine Gordon Levitt name was attached to the project very early on. The officially G.I. Joe the Club was among the number of the website to confirm Gordon Levitt role as the Cobra commander, but they quickly removed the news soon thereafter, leaving many to think it was the announced informations. However, the presentation and the International the Fair 2008 in New York confirmed Gordon's Levitt as having the sign on to play the Cobra leaders. The lineup of cast is always as follow. Marketing for Toys as a series of action figures based on the actor and the vehicles as they are seen in the movie are granted for this year. Other possible tie-ins are the comic book movie, the novelizations, and the product placement. The Electronic Art recently acquired the licenses to produce games based on the Hasbro properties from the rival publisher activities. The video game versions of the Rise of the Cobra being the first game made under the new deals. Before the release of the movie, a prequels the comic miniseries, the written by the Chuck Diston, was released by the IDW Publishing. The increasing anticipation promotional image were released by the studio. The first of these, the featured actor Ray Park dressed as the Snake Eyes, then the earliest brief of the footage from the film. To increase the anticipation, the promotional image were released by the studio. The first of these featured actor Ray Park dressed as the Snake Eyes. The earlier previews of the footage from the was seen in 2009 Super Bowl TV series. From the film was seen in 2009 Super Bowl TV spot. Sequel. Rob Morrow, the studio voice, the chairman, stated that a sequel would be development with the film-led actor the contractually obligated Wood returns in the Journey 2010, Red Races and the Pure Working. The writer of the Zombie End were here to write the script for the sequel. Stephen Sommers was originally going to return as director of the sequel, but as of the Journey 2011, Sommers will not be returning to direct. Production on the film will be in the June, and the film will likely be released in 2012. Also sleeping the return of the Storm Shadow actor the Lee Byung-hung. On the Journey 17, 2011, the Hollywood Reporters confirmed once again that the Lee Byung-hyun will reprise his role as the Storm Shadow in the sequel. Changing the themes and the Ray Park are also returning to the film as the Duck and the Snake Eyes, respectively. Paramount Pictures. Changing the Timo and the Ray Parks are also returning to the film as the Duck and Snake Eyes, respectively. Paramount Pictures announced that the John Chu will direct the sequel. The film was released on the 29 March 2013 and the G.I. Joe The Relations. G.I. Joe The Rise of the Cobra was poorly received overall by the critics as of the 13 June 2021. The film has a score of the 31% fresh on the review aggressive site Rotten Tomatoes with the 117 reviews. Film forgets slightly better with the audience but is still only about the 50% fresh. The site criticized the concept feature state the White Dal fans of the Hasbro toy franchise may reveal in a bite of the nostalgia. G.I. Joe The Rise of the Cobra is largely a cartoonish, over-the-top action defensively propelled by the silly writings. The film fares slightly better with the audience but is still only about the 50% fresh. The site criticized consensus feature state that while fans of the Hasbro toy franchise may reveal in a bite of the nostalgia, G.I. Joe The Rise of the Cobra is largely a cartoonish, over-the-top action fest propelled by the silly writing, inconstant visual effect and the merry, passable performance. The action scenes in the Paris were actually filmed in the town divides Preux-Chizis Republic. The filmmaker built shop with the followers changing school name and the Parker mostly all French manufactured cars on the streets. 112 cars were destroyed during the filming, according to Stephen Sommers on the DVD. The commentary on of the studio executive disliked the idea of the Snake Eyes wearing a mask and tried to get him to the remote aid. Lenosa D. The Benwichers originally they envisaged marketing for the role of the Duck. The reported comment was the offer the role of the heavy-duty the conscience roadblock, but when he turned it down, the character was the change to heavy-duty, who was played by the villain Anakin Gabbage. The rapper Common was offered the role of the heavy-duty the cousins the roadblock, but when he turned it down, the character was the change to heavy-duty, who was played by the wealthy Anakin Gabbage. Dana Coyd filmed all his scenes in the first 2 months of the production. Dan Murphy was going to produce the film in 2003, but they made the Transformers instead. Michael C. Mutant was the cinematography of both film. Larry Hama, the creator of the most of the G.I. Joe character, was the hired as a creative the consultant on the film. He also got a cameo as a NATO journal that during the narration's nominated presentation. The role was cut during the editing and he can only be seen in the white shorts of the NATO the assembly. Michael the Pioneer played a flight control attendant in the film. Pioneer had been Michael the Pioneer played a flight control the attendant in the film. Pioneer had been involved in the franchise previously in the 1989 series where he the voice cop. Changing the Trump originally did not want to act in this film because he felt it the glorified war. He changed his mind when he read the script. His friend and the stop loss co-star the Jasmine Gordon the Levitt also they encounter him to sign on. Dennis Guide the describe his character Havoc as a mixture between Chuck Yeager STD, Rogue and a Neff, Hong MC Hanner, Martin Artist Stephens, Ray Park and the little knowledge of the G.I. Joe saga, but as a child he had played with a Snake Eyes action figure. He was delighted to play a childhood hero of his, the Rippers, for the role. He predicted visual rating ends. Child he had played with a Snake Eyes acting the figures. He was thus delighted to play a childhood hero of his. To prepare for the role, he preset visual training and the studio Snake Eyes the appearance in the G.I. Joe comic television series. Afterward, he approached right in carving the vein hook and the artist as well. Gallant with the idea of a GI geocomic further the exploring his the incursions of the characters. Marlon Wayans was the cast as the Ripcord after his the performance in the Ripcord. For a dream, Baroness is also a fan of the G.I. Joe. The filmmaker enjoyed working with the Danish guide so much that the screenwriter Stan Bites created 10 to 15 minutes scenes for him. Danish guide took the role of the General Havoc on the instance of his son, a fan of the G.I. Joe. Rachel Nichols was the first choice for the role of the Scots. Stephen Sommers felt that this was the close he would get to making the James Bond film. He placed homage to survival 007 film. Stephen Sommers took target care of the technology deposit in the film, going through the various books, magazines about the weapons technology. He feels that the almost 100% of the technology can be the development within the 10 to 20 years. According to Stephen Sommers, total the invisible is impossible, but the conflict camera in the film project the view from a soldier's back onto the confront can follow around the visual inevitability that the details is the assembler suit the light, suit the Batians and made him right up. A car chases were one guy not even in a car, however they were the bullocks and the heavy for the actor to wear. Ray Park was the nervous about the wearing the ninja suit and the asked to the practice with it at the home so that he could be comfortable with it. He found the suit composed slowly of the rubber with a metal tweezers, like the wearing a rubber band, and had to put the effort into moving in it. Bunny Hyung Lee, who plays Storm's shadow, had no knowledge of the G.I. Joe saga but was advised by the filmmakers not to learn about his characters, letting his the portrayal stand by itself. He describes Storm the Shadow as defined and driven by the two conflicting facts, huge pride and a sense of the honors. Heavy Duty was the original name, the Lemurs Memories, but the name was the change to the Herschel Dead Run. However, is code number 8007 to 46 LM65 contains the Morris intentionally to horror him. Rachel Nichols, a blonde, played the skirt. Ari had Nichols that her hair read for her the previous film star take. The first two reveals of the Pi G.I. Joe's underground base were the construct at the Downey the soundstage, the rest in the GI. Producer Linzo is the Ventures and the Hasbro CEO Brain the Golden Choice. Screenwriter Michael the Gordon to do the script on this the base of his work for 300. Director the trademark Stephens the cast Kevin G. O'Connor driven appearance in the survival of the film included and play the little character in The Mummy and both of which also starred appear in the survival of the film included and the play the little character in The Mummy and both of which also credited. Fierce Klamik is the character in this film is a descent from of the Rick O'Connell, his character from the Mummy movie. Olekia Crenol was the considered from the role of the Baroness, not screened for the criticized the Cobra Night Raven in the film the differs greatly for its the comic book and the G.I. Joe TV cartoons. In the comic and the series, it based on the SR-71 the Blackbird. In the movie, it's very much like the MiG-31 from the movie the Firefox, Duck and the Ripcord train with the FN model FS-2000 tractor series. Assault rifle in the NATO 5.56x45 mm. During the elevator sequence, the Baroness used an HK MPV-7 in the 4.6s 30 mm. Both are very real, successful, fantastic-looking weapons. Snake Eyes piston in model and the FN-57 semi-auto pistols, which is also revealed weapons. Instead of the energy base, the projections, the real gun shoots small the cyber 7.7x 280 mm rounds. Skip Ford's wrote and the early draft of the film, which the feature Alex Manna and the antagonist as the Nature Ryan, a corporate CI agent. The Scarlett is the married to action man but still has the feeling for the duck and is killed by the Baroness. Snake Eyes speak but his the vocal cords are slashed during the story. rendering him mute. Best friends the Cannings, Tatum and the Josephines Gordon-Levitt star as the Duke and the Cobra commanders, who were arch enemies in the G.I. Joe. Cobra commanders are masks were the resigns, partly because the filmmakers thought the original version was too similar to a Cooklex mask. From the voice of the Cobra commanders, the Joseph Gordons, Levitt was partly inspired by the Chris later voice from the G.I. Joes, but he also used a bit of his own the imagination as he felt that the copying later voice fully would be the unoriginally and the ridiculous. Josephine Gordon the Levitt was partly inspired by the rapist Lloyd for his CGI Joe, but he also used a bite of his own imagination, as he felt that the copying Laird's voice fully would be the unoriginally and the reduced. A post-credit scene was the plane in the which famously must the ninja Snake Eyes tell a joke to the CGI Joe teams. Larry Ham advised against it because it would detract from the seriousness of the film as well as go against the core of the Snake Eyes character, who has always been the portrait as a complete mute. There are the survival connection to the Alexander drama pre-work, The Man in the Iron Mask, the obvious masks worn by the leaders, MC Clone and his the distant new face, the events involving France, and the concept of the replanning the leader with a perfect dumbbells. Josephine Gordon the Levitt joined the cast when he was shown the mask he would wear as the Cobra commanders. G.I. Joe The Rise of the Cobra top USA box office. G.I. Joe The Rise of the Cobra has enjoyed one of the top August opening for a non-sequel by the shooting past the 100 million mark it intentionally. The film, which was the similarly released in a number of the countries on Friday, 7 August 2009, took the $56.2 million in America and $44 million in other territories, including the UK. The film, based on the another the Hasbro line, like the Transformer, had not been shown to criticized in America prior to its release, but the pulled in the $22.3 million off in its the first day along, also the highest opening for an August non-sequel. Paramount had decided the August showing it to the journalists in the USA because of the critical bashing that the Transformers Revenge of the Fallen received ahead of its release. They were confident that the Stephen Sommers directed the blockbuster would perform well with the demographic it targeted and did not want any pre-release damage to be created by the pre-negative. The film star and the international cast included the Sienna Miller, Danny Scott, and the changing tenons, and they follow the fortune of the covered group of the soldiers who must until to prevent an evil arms declare and a secret the organizations from the unleashing a cash-dropping weapons across the global. Another strong as the opener was the cooking comedy Julia and the which took an estimated $20.1 million. The film marked the second year following their Oscar-nominated run in the Dubai. But the Hollywood makers in the April thriller A Perfect Getaway, which debuts in the UK cinema this Friday, performed monsterly, crossing an estimated $5.8 million and coming in the 7th at the box office. Box office beat the down G.I. Joe Rise of the Cobra storms theater with the $56.2 million. G.I. Joe The Rise of the Cobra $56.2 million. Jude Julia $20.1 million. G-Force $9.8 million. Harry Potter and the Half-Blood Prince $8.8 million. Funny People $7.8 million. The Ugly Truth $7 million. A Perfect Getaway $7.7 million. Alien in the Attic $4 million. Orphan thus $3.7 million. 500 Days of Summer $3.7 million. Deposit low the expectations and the lofty speculation about the theistic quality. G.I. Joe The Rise of the Cobra storm the box office this weekend, the raking up and the impressive $56.2 million for the first place. Word of the mouth has been strong with the critics and the bloggers declaiming it to be a fun summer blast. that defines all action film that conceives, though a huge drop of its accepted in its second week of release. This the Hasbro franchise has shown itself to be a worthy advisor is and the otherwise where this summer we are definitely looking at the next big the trilogy here, and it won't be hard for the Stephen Sommers to top this the one in a sequel. Hungry people the countrywide rushed out to see the Julia and the Julia, making it the second highest grossing film of the weekend. This love letter to Julia Child, as played by the Meryl Streep, pulled in a respectful $20 million and won the hearts of the audience member and the critics alike. This week, only other major release did not fare quite as well. Universal thriller A Perfect Getaway dropped in at number 7, earning a week $5.7 million. Not too impressive. We probably want to see this one on the characters come next week. A People of Art House flick hit the crisis this the weekend, but neither were any match for the G.I. Joe The Rise of the Cobra as far as the per-screen average was the concern. Called Soul, Sophia the Burton's new comedy sharing pure the camp he earned $63,340 million, second highest per screen average just behind G.I. Joe The Rise of the Cobra, taking in an estimated $9,043 million from each of its the 7 screen. Prepper Heart the Charlia, Ye Look at the Love and the Life earned 2,006 playing a respectful 38 theaters location throughout the country. Next weekend sees the debut of this year's sci-fi action The Masterpiece Distribute. Will it be able to hold its own against the time travel wife and the goods life hard sell hard? My guess is that we have another huge blockbuster on our hands with the Neil Blomkamp's first feature film. CGI Joe The Rise of the Cobra review. It's been the widely the publicities that the Paramount Pictures the chickens out at the last minutes and they refused to screen G.I. Joe The Rise of the Cobra for film that criticized the native white. Actually, I take that the back. There were a few criticized that they were. It's been widely the publishing the Paramount Pictures the crick out at the last minutes and refused to screen G.I. Joe The Rise of the Cobra for film that criticized the NATO whites. Actually, I take that the back. There were a few critics that were providing the opportunity to screen the G.I. Joe The Rise of the Cobra in advance. In fact, these the largely lesser know the critics were the invited to New York for a press the junkets. They did nothing like a press junket to the uncover a few positive the quotes. A few positive quotes about a film with the increasingly netted bets. There is mighty ordinary how can a major studio pour the millions of dollars into an action flick with the big name stars and then be so ashamed of the finished product that they block out the film the writers. Rather than adverting negative publicity for their film, Paramount's only end up getting even more the negative publicity for the stunning of critics, and it's the process aligned the very writers with the whom they really need to coexist peacefully. Film the journalist needs studio film and the film industry. The studio need film journalists for the native public awareness and the publicity. As the Rodney King would say, why can't we all just get along? Now then, that depending upon who you talk to, the G.I. Joe The Rise of the Cobra is either more the entertaining than the Transformers Revenge of the Fallen or a fearfully the independent quits distant cousin to the summer 2009 other the Techno Smash that the criticized actually fell into the ministry by the considering the second Transformers flick surprisingly entertaining, though this certainly not a critical grand Islam. The same is not true here. G.I. Joe The Rise of the Cobra is a dumbed down, if you can believe that, version of the already simplified Transformers flick with the less the techno, jargons and more pretty boys posing next to cool machine that don't. To justify the film, the reported 17 to justify the film's reported 117 million budget. Oh, I forget these are pretty girls. Too, in case you have been the wondering why the trailer the G.I. Joe the seems to the primarily focus on a female the entry's concept of the character G.I. Joe has been the rip to the share for the film as the G.I. Joe is now the actually a manipulation squad of the do-goodness that they include the Journal Havoc the Dino Squad, Duck the Phenomen's Ripcords and the other who recently don't need to mention because without the expectation that the acting is the laughable. The two goodness are caught in the action when the nano warheads created by an arms manufacturers the Christophers are the being solved by the habits led by the Sienna Millers, a mid scientist, and well the who really cares. The truth is that even the Gordon Levitt, who gives one of the summer 2009 best performance in 500 Days of Summer, brings back the horrid flashback of his overacting in the Havoc with this the performance, giving the target material like the 500 Days of the Summer or the Mysterious Skins, the Gordon's Levitt proved himself one of the best of the up and the coming actors. Unfortunately, he has not quite against the ability to overcome had material, and this is quite simply hurried material. How much you enjoy G.I. Joe The Rise of the Cobra is likely to reset slowly upon which approach to action filmmaking you perfect. Hardcore action with a focus on the technology and special effort, or the special effects later action with a central core of the humanity and characters, albeit the cartoonish ones with the wish to identity. If you choose the former, the G.I. Joe's The Rise of the Cobra is like to pass as the last, moderately entertaining. If however you choose the latter, then you are way better off the checking out Transformer 2 again, or better yet go out and rent Team the America World Police and the action flick with the purpose that the surprise is the film. Judging from the reviews so far, it might seems as if a C is the actually a touch the generous. Let me explain. While the acting is the constantly weak, with the expectation of the surprisingly hip the Sienna Millers and the script form a trip of the secret, is the headless city and the child. There is some things to be said for the director Stephen Sommers' use of the techno gadgets. Is the occasionally quite awesome country of the Stephen Western studio, and while the film the seldom look like a 170 million film, the Summers does have fun arming his the cast with and the estimate of the odds and the ends that they play out in a pleasant and the entertaining ways. Alien the Silvire original score, while the frequently overwhelmed by the thundering technology that is surrounding it, it's the generally a 9 compliment to the film. G.I. Joe The Rise of the Cobra is the most disappointment of the summer 2009 big budget picture, a film that derives to the shared everything that they work about G.I. Joe and they replace it with a lurid story, weak cast and the like that is so corny that you will be the gratefully when the explanation show up as the distribution. If you must see and the action flick in theaters this weekend, check out the surprisingly the satisfies a perfect gateway instead at that weight. If you must see an action flick in theater this weekend, check out the surprisingly the satisfying a perfect gateway instead at the very least. It's a B movie, and where's the baggage with the pride? Fresh movie review and the human what's something while the you wait. Watching Transformers 2 and this here G.I. Joe flick is the close approximately to each other that brought something to the forefront of my mind. It was not just a strange knowledge that the both movies are raised from a product being the Hasbro twice at that. It was the sad reality that, at least for the American audience, film is what they now have to make up for a lack of a culture mythology. Sure, the USA has a long and a proud history with all sorts of old tales and the delay where the crossing for the some parts almost the grand last stand and the flags raised on the low jumps. But it's not the same things compared to the Asian myths and the legends of the other culture which the more the presentation throughout history, whatever right or the philosopher or people with the real jobs will tell you represent a deep culture, the connection to the subconscious. Instead, what we now all have or film that they basically explain or the reinvent the original of toys. The toys are the adjust, the alternative marketing. The alternative marketing stream, the subsidiary, the mismatching. As such, they are the product, the embedding the terms and the film that essentially present to market the toys themselves. So if you wonder as to why the Baroness is called the Baroness or why Cobra is called Cobra or who Snake Eyes is or who what are the destroy is, then you can watch the film and then buy the toys or even go home and the marvel at the risk and the impressively backstory that the toys you already possess here. The character in this the flick are toys and they have the motivations of toys. This is a strange action flick based on a property of next to know the relevance to the current era, ramped and the random so that it took like they were the makers of the Underthirds were they looking forward to. The performances are quite funny. I am not sure if it always instinct, but they roundly made me the laugh out loud. I really laugh out loud watching movie, but this time it's they happen quite often and quite loudly. The only person I really feel sorry for the out of all of this is the Dynasty Kite. Kite has been a decent actor for decent and has again and again the trimmed over the advertise married to Macrian. He rose over that the Optal has the Randy. Has Randy Kite as a brother, he worked through his pain and delivered again and again. Seeing him here hurts my heart. Like every character, he has a one-word destination, a havoc or last the journal havoc, who mostly leader and the international minds of the brother and a few sister, who are the best of their country respective militaries. So it's truly and the organization that they celebrate, deliver and the benefit of the multi collection as long as everyone actress America. It is to be the tall, the opposite the relationship to the one in the Transformer 2, whereby the only thing that standing between the humanity and the evil, the distraction is the might of the US. Transformer 2, whereby the only thing standing between humanity and the evil destruction is the might of the USA military and the some other giant robots, but the mostly the USA military, yeah. No here saying the word from the evil is the Bantons had come to life and the kitten out with the latest the gadgety roboting plans. Nanotechnology, all that shit plays in the hand of a multi-trailer focus of the international equal run by and the stating in the lead roles are, you guess is Noble America, too young the jarhead named Duck and the Ripcord. Changing tone and a superfluous Wayne's brother get the drag into a international the conspiracy and trouble way about their the pay guards when someone tries to steal the nanotechnology weapons that they and the some other the grunts are. Conspiracy and trouble way above there the pay guards when someone tries to steal the nanotechnology weapons that they and the some other grunts are the transporting. It turns out that the persons manufacturing the weapons is trying to steal them so that he can fuck France up and make the billionaires from the trilogy, way in which he will sell this the destructive each to all sides. Duck is a loyal, dedicated grunt who wants nothing more than to survive his home country and take out the trash. Changing the terms, who I have actually seen act is other flick, bring the level down to what it is the playing the main toy in a flick about toys. He is a very toy-like, you have to admit that, which is in the schemes of things hardly appropriate. When he attached he discovered that one of the elder In his the former the girlfriend who is now a Baroness, hence her name, the Baroness O, and the Cobra called Cobra because of the Cobra venoms. Why is a breaker called Breaker? I don't know, but at least his play by said. Thanmans who for once get a healthy playback without the having to play a terrorist villain. Everyone has not just the nickname, but these toy names that they can really take you out the story. Really, Storm the Shadow, really, Doctor the Mind Brain, really. Everyone has not just the nicknames, but these two names that the continual takes you out of the story. Really, Storm Shadow, really, Doctor the Mind Best, really, the Zertans. G. Lewis, they can't be the serious. Does anyone have any fun in this the target mess without the looking the embarrassed? Well, I have to admit the Persian escape is somewhat amusing, and action sequence go where the baddies decide to destroy the Eiffel Tower and Dirk and the Ripcord start the rapping about the terrifying to stop them while the wearing powder mage type the suit crashing through the buildings and the trains and the generally acting like the giants happy puppies made of the titaniums. Of course the entry the dead rise is the amused at the boys and the fairly dumb ones at that. It is however impossible to like and the utterly impossible to take seriously even as the dumb entertainment. Of course, the entry, the Enterprise is the amid at the boys and fairly dumb ones at the. It is, however, impossible to like and the utterly impossible to take seriously even as dumb entertainment. I am not going to spoil that the rest of the plot or even explain anything else except to the illuminate why this movie is the actually a tag worse than the Transformers 2. Yes, I am going to set the bar that low. After cross the double cross, triple cross, the death of the stupid characters in the final battle, some things that happen at the ultimate villain's lair, which is the state deeps underwater, the underdeath, the pack ice at the North Pole, explanations, the explode, people have to get out or they get into the various things before the either the escaping or the dying or the combination therefore. After course, double cross, triple cross, the death of the stupid characters in the final battle, something happening at the ultimate villainous lair, which is the streeted deeps, the underwater, under that, the big ice at the North Pole. Explanation explode, the people have to get out or they get into various things before either escaping or dying or the combinations therefore. The pack ice above the layer is the reputed by this the explanations and the huge chunks of ice start the thumblings in the extra oblong downhards crashing various the underwater craft and the slamming into the layer. Yes, huge chunk of the ice falling the slowly but the powerful the downrides into the abyssal depth. If that the sound the reason able to you, then this the flick which was the created as if to the guardians and the restrictions of the crazy character from the mysterious science 3000s. Yes, huge chunk of the ice falling the slowly but the powerful the downrides into the abyssal the depth. If that the sound reason able to you, then this flick which was the created as if to the grunty if that the sound reason able to you, then this the flick which was the created as if to the grunty restriction of the crazy character from the mysterious science 3000 in order to give them the further loader to the mercilessly ridiculous might be right up your alley. And if a film like this is the right up your alley, you have to start wondering about the quality of your ally. I'm not even sure why I was found this the mock worthy at the same time as I have given a towering monstery as the upline a Michael B. Lettice a vertical free piece. The difference is that the B at this the best worst make aggressively and the valiantly entertaining trash, where this the flick has the singular word of not being as the read talently. At the same time as I have given uttering the mysterious as the applying a Michael B. Lettice a vertice free pass, the difference is that B at this the best worst make aggressively and the violently entertaining trash, where this the flick has the singular virtues of not being as the retellently entertaining, and they actually seem even the more childish than a flick about giants, robots, then they turn into other stuff and then bake again. With the Transformers, there's the no admission, no the concession for being the made about twice. It's the Ponemans converting the Star Wars. Okobat explained, since Star Wars because a parody of the Star Wars in the later film. In the G.I. Joe, you actually start falling embracing for the actor involved, where the no one going to feel bad for the creators of the menu guides of the Cy B. Love or the Megan Fox, but when I think of the Christopher the Astel's Dinah's cat, in G.I. Joe, you actually start feeling the embrace for the actor involved, where no one going to feel bad for the certain of the Manitoid of the Shia LaBeouf or the Megan Fox. But when I think of the Christopher the Astel's the Dinah's cat, Jocelyn Gordon-Levitt said the Tag Moise, Jonathan the Parrick and the Beyond Hyun Lee, who was the fantastic in A Better Way's Life survival years ago, fabbling around in the embarrassing the darkness that this is the cartoon. All I can think is, demons, I am glad you all got a hefty payout for the ones, but your own friends and the family should be the mocking you to your face for this week crap. Director Stephen Sommers continue a wordly perfect record of the unspoiled season with his the resume, adding this the flick up there to the star's epic high survive to the for movie of the quality of the Van Helsing and the Watch Mummy flick. Keep up with the sheet work the Stephen they are the bleedings. Director Stephen Sommers continue a virtually perfect record of the unspoiled sheetness with his the resume, adding this the flick up there to the stratospheric highs received from the movie of the quality of the Van Helsing and those the Watch Mummy flick. Keep up with the sheet work the Stephen they are building that the 10th level of the hell just for you, Brad Render and the rest of the you hack. 4 times I have seen the plays that were more the entertaining honest to God plays out of the 10. American policies, governance, the centers, the concretes. No wonder nothing ever gets not. That's the word we have going to fix Mr. Zerton. At least they are trying to come up with a solution for the ones. G.I. Joe to the Rise of the Cobras. Movie review. G.I. Joe the Rise of the Cobra. What is G.I. the Rise of the Cobra? When all else fails, they are G.I. Joe, a top secret, the elite streaks force, featuring the best, the operative from the around the global after a high-tech secret weapons. Featuring the best, the operative from the around the global after a high-tech secret weapons is stolen by the mysterious and evil Cobra organization. The G.I. Joes must race against time to stop the Cobra from using the weapons and the polishing the world into the chaos, starting the Jennings Thomas, Marlon Wayans and the Sienna Millers. Review. This is going to be the bless of a review than a retrospective and the rent. G.I. Joe, the Rise of the Cobra is fine. It's got a bunch of the flow and the die-hard the newty jobs like the myself will the nitpack it that to the about the continued changes, but it's the god decent the action comedy and the update of the G.I. Joe the premise. If they had changed a few things here and there, it did not go from a 3-star movie to a 4-star action. The extra organized is just the sequel that ran this the incursions of the franchise into the ground. The premiums of the G.I. Joe the Rise of the Cobra is a perfectly fine one. Dunk and the Ripcord are the 2 American soldiers, the Guardians, a nanotech warhead made by the Mary's arm manufacturing giant the James McCullen, who is up to some things the Nephilim by the head gets stolen by the advertising surprise soldier led by the Baroness, and our hero are the required into the GI before they lose the warhead again. Duck is revealed to be the ex-lover of one of the Baroness and instead to rescort and indeed to the rescue her. I don't mention it very often, but I am very much a G.I. Joe the fanboy, given I am and the architect the nutty job. This is a somewhat the brighter things, but I actually the consider the toy, the commercial, the military advertisement to be one of the most the formulating things of the May youth. I think my appreciating for the female, the heroine problem comes from the G.I. Joe and why I did not develop in a white guy who seems to think that the every heroinics. I don't mention if it very often, but I am very the much a G.I. Joe the fanboy, given I am and the architect the not boy. This is a somewhat the brazier things, but I actually consider the toy commercial military advertising to be one of the most formulative things of the my youth. I think my appreciate for the female heroinic problem come from the G.I. Joe and why I don't develop into a word guy who seems to think that the very heroinic as is some way a third to my the failing the MC Clint. G.I. Joe has the constantly struggles to find the itself a brain identity outside of the comic by the lady human. G.I. Joe father in the way same bills the finger it's the Batman stins. Lee is the Spider-Man. Part of this may be the premise of the bunch of the America soldiers the fighting an evil the territories organization bent on the word the conquest being a little too real after 2001. Part of it may be the fact it does not have quite the same broad international appeal as Transformers the how gears I say. My opinion of the G.I. Joe is that I believe the biggest problem it has that the Hasbro is just the handing the license trebly much the same with the Dangerous and the Dragons. They seem afraid of the embarrassing the sheer Wallace Hedrick sensibility that they makes. My opinion of the G.I. Joe is that I believe the biggest problem is that the Hasbro is just the handling the license trebly much the same with the Rangers and the Rangers. They seem afraid of the embarrassing the shirt. Various the high risk sensibility that makes the work slick is the stranger because they have the update it a couple of times with the Sigma 6 and this the very movie having our hero be a bot collection of the international hero Ella Action Force. Michael's Bay was the basic made to make this movie and they got the mummy guy to do it instead and he won't have been the fantastic if had it been the allowed to read the script like he wanted. Famously, this was the unhappy production from everyone involved. Christopher's Eccleston hated playing Destroy and I can't help but think it did have been the interesting to get David Tennant and the Scotsman and fellow Doctor Wu to do the role, changing terms and the actual G.I. Joe fanboy about my age hated the movie from the top to the bottom. He wanted to play the Snake Eyes instead of the Duck and honestly probably would have done a fantastic job. Both do a great job with that. They are doing the Eccleston Brazers accent choice aside and are not the problem with the movie. Master Joy about G.I. Joe with the the Nichols being a great the actress I wish I did scenes more of. She was amazing in the continuums. Sienna Miller being the absolutely best things in the movie by far as the Baroness even if she don't be allowed to be the bad. Ray Park as the Snake Eyes being the best sort of the casting and Lee the Banks Hugh is the great as the Storm Shadow. I even like the Marlons Wayans as the Ripcord even if they more or less had to invite this the characters who cloth Vernon's the comic cartoonish. The acting is big, punchy and the electricity with a great deal of fun to be had with the fun toy on the display. Everyone is the pretty and they're the lot of the explaining things. It's a colorful James Beyond movie and all the better of it. So what went wrong? It's enough to say but it's not of those cases where I feel like the minor's weakness led to the bigger problem. Josephine Gordon-Levitt would have been a fantastic doctor. The mind benders, he's clearly the only actor who understands he is in a. So what went wrong? It's thought to say that, but it's one of those cases where I feel like the minor tweaks led to bigger problems. Jocelyn the Gordon-Levitt words have been a fantastic Doctor the Mind brands. He clearly the only actor who understands he in a live-action cartoon other than the possibly Mr. Miller or the Cobra commands, but the combining the two makes no sense. Careless being a very emotionally distant scientist is again not really her. Ripcord and her the relationship come off more like the sexual harassment and is the worried when her two the canon love the interest are the red tears. Also making the Baroness the brainwash gets right of one of the great female the villains of the childish entertainment and also make her romance with the destroy into the sexual the isolate. But the widely my biggest the issue with the movie is that the fact that G.I. Joe is a bunch of the adult. Throughout the movie, they fail to get anything done and get the constantly outsmarted by the Cobra. They fail to show the Eiffel Tower, they fail to stop the bad guys. But rightly, my biggest issue with the movie is that fact that the G.I. Joe is a bunch of the idiots. Throughout the movie, they fail to get anything done and get the constantly outsmarted by the Cobra. They fail to save the Eiffel Tower, they fail to stop the bad guys from the getting their the domestic weapons, and they also let Cover Girl get killed, which is a problem with the Hasbro. Everyone is someone favorite the fingerings. It's just something that the gets massively double up on it's the sequel when it's the hard to say our heroes did anything right when the London is the destroyed. That's not a spoiler since it was in the trailer for the sequel. Larry Hama and Wish Cobra as a sort of the publishing writing wings the crypto fantastic movement in the elites and they basically had the same idea as a Gojo Lewis. Cobra the commander would rise to power as a very American sort of the director and they manipulate events behind the scenes to take over the world. People, especially American, joins Cobra because they want a better life and no longer trust the governments. I can. Larry Human the invasions Cobra as sort of the population's right wings the crypto fantastic moments in the elites and they basically had the same idea as the Gojo Lewis. Cobra the commander would rise to power as very the American sort of the director and they manipulate even behind the scenes to take over the world. People, especially American, joins Cobra because they want a better life and no longer trust their the governments. I can understand if the Hasbro does not want that the kind of the political the commentary in their the books, but this the version of the Cobra is all mind control and it's the undermines anything that you would give the group punch. If Star Wars can destroy to messy with the thunder's appeal, so can G.I. Joe. Still, I occasionally watch this the film when I want some the entertainment. They are very the pretty people and there are a lot of you as well as the boom boom. It has the scenes of the fun and the advertiser, but if we had did some of the character dynamic from the show comic, I think it would have been the slightly better. Okay, no, a lot better. Controlled and is the undermines anything that you would give the group punch. Star Wars can destroy this mystery with the thousand appeals, so can G.I. Joe. Still, I occasionally watch this film when I want some entertainment. They are very pretty people and there are a lot of yuppie as well as boom boom. It has scenes of the fun and the advertiser, but if we did had some of the characters the dynamic from the show comic, I think it would have been the slightly better. Okay, now lot of a betters. G.I. Joe the Cobra Rise 2009 4K HD review. G.I. Joe The Rise of the Cobra is one of the weakest adaptations of the last 25 years. While not the outright bad, it takes so many labyrinth with the source material that it becomes something else. Sure, the point of the final script we got was the take influence from the Larry Ham's classic Marvel and the later idea run, but there are difference between a creative concept and their one running the shadow. So where did everything so go off the rails of the Rise of the Cobra? I love the Stephen Sommers as a director, but he should have the smell this the coming a mile away. But I guess it the COVID style impact on the smell when you consider that he was coming off when the hailing for the director that he made Deep the Rising and the Better Mummy movie. It's the hard to see him go hard off the rails, but the does blame leave for G.I. Joe the Rise of the Cobra. What is the Hasbro or the Paramount? Honestly, the history of the scripting reveals a lot of the problem to many. Honestly, the history of the scripting reveals a toe of the problem to many scriptwriters with the ice cold takes wanted to make a movie that would play internationally. Take a trip back with me into the way back the Mycans to remember and the era where the international the community thought the George W. Bush with the worst of the American the president we sure those cheese the is this. It's the word to see so many bad choices in one the film, but the each draft that they arrive for this the film got the further and the further away from the made G.I. Joe work. For the so many years, the Rise of the Cobra was the finally giving a bite of the direction under the Stephen Sommers and screenwrite the sword bites. But it's the pick up so much drive over the years. There were so many films like that in the 00s, then the MCU happened and any film trying to be the different fell away. Now that they seek everything eyes in the theaters and the underwhelming in a way where you are not sure if the pandemic or audience demands is to blame, but it's the still following that the groundwork set up by the Rise of the Cobra blind international commands going the where they went to save the day, plus the USA president is the secretly as in the disguise bad guy working with the Cobra. Then there was the whatever they had the Josephine Gordon's Levitt doings. Honestly, I did not get why Rise of the Cobra was this the difficult to bring to screen. Most of these the earlier adaptation were the effort to make the blindest film the possible to appeal to every possible audience at every moment where it's the nightable, but there are still people in the creative positive wanted to do that. Just look at the Destiny casual blind eye towards the constantly posting for the Chinese market that and all that the Persian slave labors that the was used on the Mylands Diamond movie did not even win any Oscars. While this the attempt to make the memories for the most common the Demeters has the morphed and transformed into the deeps. Honestly, I don't get why Rise of the Cobra was his difficult to bring to screen. Most of these the earlier adaptations were the effort to make the blindest film possible to appeal to every possible audience at the every moments everywhere. It's incense, but there are still people in their creative positions wanting to do that. Just look at the Destiny casual blind eye towards the constantly postulating for the Chinese market that the and all that the Persians slave labor that the was used on the Molana Diamonds movie did not even win any Oscar. While this attempt to make the stories for the most common the Dementor has the morphed and the transform into deep near friend the Vincrity and transform into deep nerd friend the Vincury, it has not changed that the much. The Rise of the Cobra was the corporate America making nerd movie. While this attempt to make the stories for the most common the Dementor has the morphed and the transform into deep red variety, it has changed that the merge the Rise of the Cobra was the corporate America making the near movie. Now we have near making movie for the nerds that have don't underwant that the makes a movie it as the world lob of people screaming at each other about the random Harley or Queen facts. G.I. The Rise of the Cobra hits the 4K UHD with the commentary that were on the Blu-ray. I don't know why we can't get any new specific feature. Hell, I would have took some things that they tried into the snack eyes, but I guess they'd try. I don't work for the big studio. The 21X transform is the quite stunning and that the DTS HD 5.1 master audio is good enough for a film of this age. I recommend a passage to the curious. G.I. Joe the Rise of the Cobra. Watching Transformers 2 and his here G.I. Joe flick in close proximity to each other brought something to the forefront of my minds. It was not just the stranger's knowledge that the both movies erased from a product, being the twice, being the Hasbro twice at that. It was the sad reality that the at least for America audience, film is what they now have to make up for a lack of a culture's the mythology. Sure, the USA has a long and the proud history with all sorts of telltales and the Delaware the crossing for the Sampets almonds, the Grants, Last Stand and the flag raised on the low Jamla, but it's not the same things compared to the ancient myths and the legends of the other culture, which the more the presentations throughout history, whatever words or the philosophers or people with real jobs will tell you that represents a deep culture's the connection to the subconscious. Instead, what we now all have are the films that they basically explain or the reinvents the origins of the toys. The toys are not the adjust, the alternative to marketing. Instead, what we now all have are films that basically explain or they reference the original of toys. The toys are not just the alternative marketing streams and the subsidiary marketing as such. They are the product, the emblem, the trumps, and the film they intentionally presents to market the toys to themselves. So if you wondered as to why the Baroness is called the Baroness or why Cobra is called Cobra or who Snake Eyes is or who what a distro is, then you can watch the film and then buy the toys or even go home and marvel at the rise and the impressive backstory that the toys you already possess have. The character in this the flick are twice, and they have the motivations of twice. This is a strange action flick based on a property of next to no release to the current era. Revamped and the redens to that it took like the word. The makers, the Thunderbirds, were looking the forward to. The preference are quite funny. I am not sure if it always indeed, but they really made me laugh out loud. I really laugh out loud watching movie, but this time it happens quite often and quite loudly. The only person I really feel sorry for the out of all of this is the Dennis Kite. Kite has been a decent actor for the D side and has again and again the trimpets over the advised married to the McMarins. Like every character, he has one word dissertations a Havoc or at least the journal Havoc who mostly leader and the international brand of the brother and a few sisters who are the best of their country respective the millionaires. So it's truly and the organizations that they celebrate detective and the benefits of the multicultural as long as the everyone act American. It is truth be told, the opposite relationship to the one is the transformer two whereby the only thing that standing between the humanity and the evil, the deceptions, is the might of the USA. Transformer tools were the only things standing between the humanity and the evil. The deception is the might of the USA military and some other giant reports, but mostly the USA military. Yeah, no here saving the world from evil is a Benton ad com to life, and the kitten out with the latest the Gatry robotics planes the nanotechnology, all that the shit plays in the hands of a multi-trailer face of the international equal. Rand Boy and the turning in the lead roles are, you guessed it, noble Americans. Two young teacher heads named Tux and the Ripcord changing the tune and a supple floor Vince brother get the drag into an international the conspiracy and the trouble way above there the playground when the someone tries to steal the nanotechnology weapons that then and some other the grants are. Other grants are the transporting. It turns out that the person the manufacturing the weapons is trying to steal them so that he can fuck France up and make the billions from the tragedy way in which he will sell this the distributive debt to all sides. Duck is a loyal the dedicated grunt who wants nothing more than to serve his country to take the outrage, changing the terms, who I have actually seen act in the other flicks, bring the level downs to what it is, playing the main toy in a flick about toys is a very toy-like, you have to admit that. which is in the scheme of things highly appropriate. When he attached, he discovered that one of the elders in his the former girlfriend, who is now a Baroness, heard her name, the Baroness, and the Cobra. Cobra called Cobra because of Cobra venoms. Why is Breaker called Breaker? I don't know, but at least he played by the seat the Thomas, who for the once gets healthy the back check without having to play a terroristic villain. Everyone has not just the nicknames, but those toys that the continue takes out of the story really storms shadow, really doctors the minor brands, really Zertans. Liz Lois, they can't be serious. Does any have any fun in this the drug mess without looking the embarrassed? Well, I have to admit the patience the escape is somewhat assuming as action sequence go, where the buddies decide to destroy the Eiffel Tower and Doug and the Ripcord start the rappings about trying to stop them while wearing power meter type suits, crashing through the buildings and trains and the generally acting like the giants happy puppies made of the titanium. Of course the entries Enterprise is animated at the boys and the fairy dumps once at that. It is however impossible to like and the alternative impossible to take the seriously. Of course, the entry Enterprise is the maid of boys and the fairly dumps once at that. It is, however, impossible to like and the alternative impossible to take the seriously, even as dump entertainment. I am not going to spoil the rest of the plot or even explain anything else except to the illuminate why this movie is actually a tad worse than the Transformers 2. Yes, I am going to set the bar that low. After cross the double cross, triple cross, the death of the stupid characters in the final battle, some things they happen at the ultimate villain's lair, which is the situated deep underwater under the pake ice at the North Pole. Explanation explored people have to get out or get into the various things before they either escaping or dying or the combination therefore. After cross, double cross, triple cross, the death of the stupid characters in the final battle, something happens at the ultimate villain's lair, which is the situated deep underwater, under the peak ice, the North Pole. Explanations explore people have to get out or to get into the various things before either escaping or dying or the combinations therefore. The peak ice above the layer is the report by the these exploring and the huge chunks of the ice start tumbling in extra-audible downs, crushing various underwater craft and slamming into the layer. Yes, huge chunks of the ice, falling slowly but powerfully the downwards into the abyssal depth. If that the sounds reasonable to you, then this the flick which was the created as if to the grunty restrictions of the crazy characters from the mysterious size 3000 in order to give them further for to the mercilessly ridiculous might to be right up your really. And if a film like this is right up your ally, you have to start wondering about the quality of your ally. I'm not even sure why I was found this to the mock-worthy at the same time as I have given a treating the monster as appealing as a Michael Bay latest, a word is the free pass. The difference is that the B at this the best words makes aggressive and the violenting, entertaining trash whereas this the flick has the singular virtue of not being as the relentless. So mock-worthy at same time as I have given outwarding the monster as appealing as the Michael Bay latest, a virtual free pass. The difference is that the Bay at his the best word market aggressively and the violently entertaining trash whenever this the flick has the singular virtue of not being as the relentless, entertaining and the actually seeming even more the childish that a flick about giants, more childish than a flick about giants robots that they turn into the other stuff and then they bake again. With the Transformers, there no admission, no communication with the beings made about twice. It's a Panatomins convince the Star Wars. Okay, bad examples in Star Wars because a parody of the stars in the latter film. In the G.I. Joe, you actually start feeling embraced for the actor involved whenever no one going to feel bad for the certain of the mannequins of the Sana Lebov of the Megan Fox, but when I think of the Christianers In the G.I. Joe, you actually start feeling embraced for the actor involved. When everyone's going to feel bad for the certain of the menu guide of the Shia LaBeouf or the Megan Fox, but when I think of the Christopher Eccleston, Dennis Guide, Josh Gordon-Levitt, said the Thomas, Jonathan the Parrick, and the Bjorn Hugh Lee, who was the fantastic bittersweet life survived years ago. Fumbling found in the embarrassing the darkness that in this the cartoon all I can this is the demons. I am glad you all got to have the payday for once, but your own friends and family should be the mocking you to your face for this recap. Director Stephen Sommers continue a virtually perfect record of the unspoiled sentence within his the resume, adding this the flick up there to the stratospheric highest review for movie of the quality of the Van Helsing and those the watch mummy flick. Keep up the stick work Stephens they are building. Director Stephen Sommers the continue a virtually perfect records of the unspoiled shitness with his the resume, adding this the flick up there to the stratospheric highest received to for movie of the quality of the Van Helsing and those the watch mummy flick. Keep up the shit work Stephens they are building, then they trapped love of her just for you Brad rather than and the rest of you hack. 4 times I have seen play that were more entertaining honest to God play out of the 10. American politics, governments, centers, the Congress, no wonder nothing ever gets done. That's the why we are going to fix Mr. Desertons. At least they are trying to come up with a solution for once. G.I. Joe, the Rise of the Cobra. G.I. Joe the Rise of the Cobra. What is G.I. Joe the Rise of the Cobra when all else fails? They don't. They are G.I. Joe, a top secret elite force, featuring the best operating for the around the global after a high-tech secret weapons stolen by the mysterious and evil Cobra organization. The G.I. Joes must race against time to the stop Cobra from the using the weapons and the pushing the world into the chaos, starring Channing the Trauma, Marlon Wayans, and the Sienna Miller. Review. This is going to be the less of a review than a retrospective and the rant. G.I. Joe the Rise of the Cobra is fine. It's got a bunch of the flaws and the die-hard nerdjobs like myself and the nitpick it to death about the community changing, but it's got decent action, comedy, and an update of the G.I. Joe promise. If they did change a few things here and there, it did go from a 3-star movie to a 4-star action. The extravagance is just the sequel that they run this the inscriptions of the franchise into the ground. The premise of the G.I. Joe the Rise of the Cobra is a perfectly fine one. Dunks and the Ripcord are the 2 American the soldiers, the grunting a nanotech the warhead made by the mayor's arm manufacturing giant James McCullen, who is up to some things the nefarious. The warhead gets stolen by the advanced tougher soldiers led by the Baroness, and our hero are the required into the G.I. Joes before they lose the warhead again. Doug is the revealed to be the ex-lover of one of the Baroness and the instead to rescue her. I don't mention it very often, but I am very much a G.I. Joe the fanboy, giving I am and the artist not job. This is a wordsome, brighter things, but I actually consider the commercial military advertising to be one of the most formulative things of my youth. I think my appreciation for the female heroinic problem come from the G.I. Joe, and why I did not develop into a varied by the who seems to think that the every heroinics. I don't mention if it the often, but I am very much a J. Joe fanboy, given I am and the artist no job. This is a somewhat the brighter things, but I actually the consider try commercial military advertising to be one of the most the formulative things of my youth. I think mighty appreciating for the female the heroinic problem comes from the G.I. Joe, and why I don't develop into a varied by guy who seems to think that the every heroine kicking ass is the somehow a threat to my the failure the McCullen. G.I. Joe has the constantly struggle to find the itself a brand the identity outside of the comes by the Larry Hughes. The way same Bill finger it the Batman Stain Lee is Spider-Man part of this the maybe the premise of the bunch of the America soldiers the fighting an evil the territories organization bent on the word the conquest being a little too real after the 2001 part of it may be the first it does not have quite the same broad international appeal as Joe has the constantly struggled to find itself a brand identity outside of the comic by Larry Hammond. G.I. Joe father in the way same Bill fingers is the Batman Stan Lee is the Spider-Man part of this may be the premise of a bunch of the American soldiers the fighting an evil the territories organizations bent on word the conquest being a little too real after 2001 part of it maybe fact it does not have quite the some broad international appeal as the Transformers. How goes I say? My opinion of the G.I. Joe is that I believe the biggest problem it has that the Hasbro is just the handling the license trebly much the same with the Rangers and the Dragonons. They seem afraid of the embarrassing the shared versatility sensibility that they makes. My opinion of the G.I. Joe is that I believe the biggest problem it has that the Hasbro is just the handling the license trebly much the same with the Rangers and the Rangers they seem afraid of the embarrassing the shared worse hydra sensibility that they makes the work ignite instant because they have the update it a couple of the times with the Sigma Saves and his the very movie having our hero B board collection of the international heroes Allen Action Force Michael B was the basically made to make his the movie and they got the mummy guy to do it instead and the would have been the fantastic if had been allowed to read the script while the wanted familiar this was and the unhappen production from the everyone involved. Christopher's electrician hated playing Desto and I can't help but think it did have been the interesting to get Davin Trents as Axel the Stoutman and fellow Dr. Wu to do the role. Changing Tatum and the actual G.I. Joe fanboy about my age hated the movie from up to the bottoms. He wanted to play Snake Eyes. Famously, this was and the unhappy production from the everyone involved. The Christopher's Eccleston hated playing the Desto and I can't help but think it did have been the interesting to David Tennant's and actual the Scottman and the fellow Dr. Wu to do the role, changing the term and actual G.I. Joe fanboy about my age hated the movie from top of the bottom. He owned to play Snake Eyes instead of the Duck and they honestly probably would have done a fantastic job but do a great job with that. They are doing the Eccleston Bryce accentuates the aside and are not the problem with the movie. Much to enjoy about G.I. Joe the with Rachel and Claus being a great actress. I wish I did since more of the she was amazing and the continuums. Sienna Miller being the absolute best things in the movie by far as the Baroness, even if she should be the allowed to be the bad. Ray Park as the Snake, even being the best sort of the casting, and Lee Bunning-Hyun is great as the Storm Shadow. I even like the Marlon Wayans and the Ripcord even if they more or less had to invent these characters, wool cloth the worse. The comic cartoons, the action is being the punchy and the electricity with a great deal of fun be had with the fun toys on display. Everyone is the pretty and there the lot of the exploding things. It's colorful James Bond movie and all the better for it. So what went wrong? It's the toe to say that, but it's one of those cases where I feel like the minor tweaks lead to bigger the problem. Jocelyn Gordon-Levitt would have been a fantastic Doctor the Mindspurs. He clearly the only actor who underwants he is in a. So what went wrong? It's tough to say about is one of those cases where I feel like the minor tweaks lead to bigger problem. Jocelyn Gordon-Levitt would have been a fantastic Doctor the Mindbender. He is clearly the one actor who understands he is a live action cartoon other than the possibly Mr. Miller or the Capro Commander, but the combine the two makes no sense. secret beings are very emotionally distant. Scientists is again not really hurt. The Ripcord and her the relationship comes off more like the sexual harassment and is the where when her two the canon love instead are right there. Also making the Baroness the brand wash gets right of one of the great female the villains of the children entertaining and also make her romance with the Desto into the sexual assault. But the widely my biggest issue with the movie in the fact that the G.I. Joe is a bunch of the ideas. Throughout the movie, they fall to get anything done and get the constantly outsmarted by the Cobra. They fall to save the Eiffel Tower. They fail to stop the bad guys. But the widely my biggest issue with the movie is the fact that G.I. Joe is a bunch of the ideas. Throughout the movie, they fall to the get anything done and get the constantly outsmarted by the Cobra. They fail to save the Eiffel Tower. They fail to stop the bad guys from getting their the domestic weapons, and they also let Cover Girl get killed, which is a problem with the Hasbro even is someone favorite fingers. It's something that gets massively double up in one of the sequel when it's the hard to say our hero did anything right. When the London is the destroyer, that's not a spoiler since it was in the trailer for the sequel. Larry Hama and Wish Cobra as a sort of the publishing right wings. Christopher fantastic movement in the 18th and the basically hand same idea as the Gojul use. Cobra Command would rise to power as a very American sort of the destructor and the manipulated even behind the scenes to take over the world. People, especially American, joins Cobra because they want to a better life and no longer just the governments. Larry Hama in Wish Cobra as a sort of the populist right wings crypto fantastic movement in the 80s and basically had the same idea as the Gojul use. Cobra commanders would rise to power as very American sort of the director and the manipulate events behind the scene to take over the world. People, especially American, joins Cobra because they want a better life and they no longer trust the governments. I can understand if the Hasbro does not want that the kind of the political the commentary in their books, but these the versions of the Cobra is all mind the controlled and it's the undermines anything that the wood gives the ground punch. It's Star Wars can the destroy domestic with the underthrones appeal so can G.I. Joe. Still, I occasionally watch this film when I want some the entertaining. They are very pretty people and there are a lot of pupa as well as the bomb. It has a scenes of the fun and the adventure, but if we did had some of the character dynamic from the show comic, I think it would have been the slightly better. Okay, no, a lot better. G.I. Joe The Rise of the Cobra movie review. I went into this movie having read the rumors that they teased audience rated gave this the movie the rose rating in Paramount history. The roasting in the director Stephen Sommers being the fired that the not actual not being fired. As I mentioned in my the introduced, when I watch a movie I do my best to forget about anything I had heard about it so that I can decide for myself how I feel about the movie. When the movie was all said and done, I was surprised with that I had just seen. The movie was actually good in my opinion. Now before you go off scenes, now I don't know that I am talking about or have the horrible taste in movie. Let me clarify a part. The movie was good. For twice of movie it is. It's the PG-13 movie based on a child toy and the cartoon. There was non-stop action throughout the entire movie. Similar to short M's Up, Taken the Crank and the death sentence. Granted due to its the rating there was not really any gore, but that did not stop the fight scenes from being the entertaining without the silencely the movie due to their the rating done down. All in all there was not really one slow point that I can remember. Now when I bring in the outside knowledge of the lowest taste audience rating in the Paramount history, I can definitely see how the movie was the re-edit after that the viewing. I was not part of the last audience talk anyone that was at least that the showing or seen any part of it. Better are the certain part that in my the opinion were cut short or the movie from one part of the movie to another. For example, in this movie, as in most of the movie, he is in the Marlon Wayans has a comical role. There are these or the four times in the movie when he starts joking around that seems to end the permanently, meaning he will say maybe one joke, then it occurs a new scenes. All thought it definitely felt like there was more jokes to come. I feel that after. As in most of the movie, he is the Marine. Venice has a commercial role. There are the four times in the movie when he starts joking around that seems to end permanently, meaning he will say maybe one joke, then it scares to new scenes. All thought it definitely felt like there was more jokes to come. I feel that after the last audience rating was the queen, the movie was the added to be more pure action, the oriented than the some action followed by joke and some slower scenes. As I stressed movie before, I like the movie as an action-filled, entertaining movie that required little think. So if they did re-edit the movie, they did a good job overall. There were some scenes, however, that were the unintentionally fun or the film in such a way that you were not sure the first word was going on it. It was not internationally filmed this way. If there is going to be a sequel, as the movie Littles and box office earnings suggest, this was a good first movie. This review contains spoiler vui as much as there can be. The plot's nonsense. Some of you might remember that several months ago I wrote a piece entitled Hopes and the Fears for the G.I. Joe, The Rise of the Cobra, in which I rather the foolishly allowed myself to get the fear to execute by a movie that really did not look like it was the capable of the delivering anything other than the brilliant fun. Still, as when the order continue quite frank, I think you will love this the movie because there's so many. This movie can be any worse than the Vantage Point, and you like the Dennis Guide, which means you have an extremely high the tolerant for shit. You will be fine for the G.I. Joe, and they were right. Well, mostly. I do have the ridiculously high the tolerant for the cinematic experiment. I make no apologize for that, and do like the Dennis Guide. Actually, it's the more of a love. I really enjoy the Vantage Point in all its the woeful glory, and so I should have been the fine. The problem is I really was not. So with the DVD about to be released into the atmosphere, I decided that the time was the finally right to face up the events of that the fairy day when today all trends were devolved by the equipment of the cinematic that blessed me. To briefly recap, that day my friends and I had her back from the sink its own release week so we could go coordinate a meetup in the listed sequel. It was a lovely sunny Sunday. We sat outside a brief drinking and the catching up, having the distinction about the G.I. Joe comics offset the magnificating geek heights that should any nearby normals have the overhead they would have built from the series before throwing themselves in front of the nearby terrific. We had a beer, then the some more. Then he never kicked in a word. We hit the shot. We were not that navy as to not to be prepared. We had a beer, then the some more than the nervous kick in, and we hit the shot. We were not that nervous as to not be prepared. Then decided to go all out and pay for the most expensive tickets in the cinema, about the 20 each, writing that if you are going to do some things the stupid, you might as well go all out. Standing outside the entrance of the screen, we did not hear the trailer, but when the spotting the bar garbage a last beer, inhaled in and took our seats. What followed can only be described a joke that stopped being funny halfway the through. I really did want to like the film, and a bizarre part of me still does, which is why I found myself flapping at the chance to watch it again. Call me a masochist, but just the grateful that I am taking a bullet on your half, as if you thought the movie was going to be bad. You only know the half of it times to gap. The nearest bottle of the boss sticks the dice in the machine and try to stay calm. The best way to start is to address the main points from my previous article, as it's the provides strangely prophetic in its shaping of how the film turned out. Well, Era on the positive side, and the chemist as the breaker was the great. His character turned out to be the geeks should be the rather than he had as that all the pictures portrayed him as, and he even blew gum in one scene so that one star averted. Strangely, the acclamated suit scenes turned out to be the fun, not the massive anyone's. It's the look like it would be and was the merciful cap to the one shot set pieces. All the other action was done within it. Some of the paramount's were the quite good too. Arnold Walsh and the Sienna Miller seems to have fun with their the characters, Zertans and the Brownings respectively. Rikers Nichols is the very pretty as the Scarlet, a character I have always had a crush on, and the changing Tom as the duck did not often me too much. That is the though. Now on to the bat. For everyone that's ever read a single issue of the G.I. Joe comics or the crusted the toy as a child about this movie like the plugs in the trusted Hollywood tradition and hope of the faithfulness to the original source material is discarded to wind and the brunt. Almost every character is defined and the trump, with which I forget are the first until it was scared one step too far with mighty bluff, hackness every for all my excitement about the Ray Parker studying his the character is only understand but the completely scrapped by the intempt attempts at a script. The original story behind Snake Eyes was a follow. He and the Storm Shadow survive in the Vietnams together. Storm Shadow saved his the life, and the on written to us the USC Snake Eyes was the informed that his mother, father, and sister had all been killed in a car crash, left standing alone at the airport when his the comparts were granted by their families. He decided to stay with the Storm Shadow and study material arts under the tuition of the hard minister until the master was the assignment by the what seems to be the Storm Shadow out of the jealousy for the attention given to his friends as well as the Snake Eyes being to so more skilled. Left standing alone at the airport when his the comparts were greeted by their families, he decided to say that Storm Shadow and study material arts under the tuitions of the hard master until there the master was the assignment by what seems to be the Storm Shadow out of the jealousy for the attention given to his the friend as well as Snake Eyes being the more skilled of the two. Snake Eyes also they suffered into a Turkish Asians, in which he the rescued Scarlet, but had his face badly burnt and the secret, which has also left him the mute. A good story rating, complicating targeting, intrigue, and the completing best rate in the film. In the Rise of the Cobra, Storm the Shadow and the Snake Eyes are kids. That's the right little children with the Snake Eyes being the homelands and the craving for food. To then be the train in the material arts, everything else is gone. He and the Skull are the hinted at being lost in the movie, but with the no explanation as to why. But why brother when you can then make her fall for the one main fuck that is the Marlon Wayans Ripcord.